Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Greetings, people of Earth. My name is jmoonies, and welcome to an exciting first look at Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Heroes and Heralds mode. So as it turns out, Machinima received yet another preview build for this game, this time including the Heroes and Heralds mode DLC that is due to come out this Monday. And seeing as how I seem to be the go-to guy for these kinds of things, they've graciously allowed me to play the mode early and give you guys a first look. For those of you not familiar with the Heroes and Heralds mode, or Marvel lore in general, basically Galactus, the world-eating giant dude in the purple suit, is getting heralds to help prepare the world for consumption. So the idea around this theme is you pick a side, either the heroes to fight against Galactus or the heralds to fight against the heroes and help Galactus eat Earth. If you've ever played Soul Calibur 2 in the arcades, you'll find it's very similar to their Conquest mode. Basically, the idea is that every week you choose a side and try to beat the other faction, and as a result, you will end up getting prizes or other such things. But we'll go into that a bit later. One of the greatest things they've included in this is a pretty extensive 18-page description of how the game works. It doesn't explain everything, but it's definitely an instruction manual you could need, because Heroes and Heralds will be very confusing when you first get into it. As you can see from the slideshow here, there's an online mode and an offline mode to this. Unfortunately, since this DLC is still in pre-release, I will only be covering the mechanics and the offline mode. So the main thing that sets this aside from normal Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is the implementation of your card deck. And the idea is you collect these character cards, all of which have designs from various Capcom and Marvel properties. But the interesting thing about this collector's aspect is that when you equip the cards, they actually alter the effects of your fighting team. As you can see here, going into the details, you're able to see what kind of effects are attributed by equipping these cards. And even the names of the characters and their first appearances in their respective games and comic books, which is pretty damn good fan service. I was very impressed with the selection. At the moment, there are about 104 cards in total, I believe. I hope they'll expand more into it, but it looks like they pull in a lot of obscure franchises, which is really cool. Big fan of the Breath of Fire mention in there. Once you get these cards, you can actually create a deck, up to 3 presets, so it's not a pain in the ass every time. But you can randomly generate a deck of the cards you currently possess. As you can see on the bottom left, there's actually a tile that lists all the attributes your deck setup includes. Each card has a different property, as you can see here. The type of cards vary from certain damage boost enhancements, gauge increases, mobility effects, a lot of miscellaneous visual type effects as well. I can't go into all of them, but there are a crap ton of properties, and each card has a primary and secondary effect, which can give any hardcore player a lot to work with. As for the type of abilities, primary abilities, you basically have a layout of 3 cards per deck. 1 primary card and 2 secondaries. The primaries are indicated by the star, as you can see on the top left. This pretty much gives you a ridiculous number of combinations and different types of effects to apply on your fighting team. But let's take a look at the gameplay really quick here. Go with Heroes. And as you can see, you start off with a stage selection. As I've mentioned with Conquest mode, basically all your fights take place in specific stages, and you pretty much fight for control of those stages against your opposing faction. Character selection, pretty much the same, except now you choose your decks before fighting. And as you can see, your deck layout and your opponent's deck layout will appear at the start of every round.
There can be only one winner. Defend the Earth.
You know what? Screw Heroes. Let's do Heralds, because as we all know, evil will always triumph, because good is dumb. So checking out Heralds here, one thing I forgot to mention is the hit list. Basically, this is kind of a fighting game version of Bingo. Your goal is pretty much to defeat every character in a straight line on your hit list tile, and if you do, you end up unlocking a bonus stage, which you can use to pick up higher level cards. You can get a pretty good idea of where to find these guys, as each stage has a opposition team leader, which, you could tell pretty specifically. Their partners are random, so it will be hit or miss, but you get a pretty good idea here. And another thing to note is when you play Heralds, much like the Silver Surfer, you are also in full silver colors. I believe these color schemes can be unlocked down the road for normal play as well. You can cycle through your deck, you can cycle through multiple decks, you can even randomly generate a deck for this upcoming fight if you're feeling particularly whimsical. You can pretty much review your deck properties if you can't remember all of the little icons and what they mean.
Cute little ninja tricks versus Nova Corps? Come on.
Objective confirmed. Beginning mission.
Attack the Earth!
Yep, that sounds a lot better. The properties that you have are actually located right under your character portraits. They're the little icons, and they'll glow depending on what gets activated. One of the features I have in my deck is one that allows me to regenerate gauge while I'm crouching. You might think that's a little overpowered, but when you think about it, pretty much opens you up to a lot of overhead and aerial assaults. So things aren't as straightforward as you might presume they are. It's interesting because a lot of people accuse Ultimate Marvel of being like this crazy, overpowered, unbalanced game, which it isn't, by the way. It's just highly creative. The Heroes vs. Heralds mode pretty much exaggerates that feature exponentially by allowing you to customize additional parameters around your team and giving you the freedom to develop new and unusual strategies that might not be considered by the opposition. It's very think outside of the box, which has me pretty darn excited to play online. And upon match victory, you will find that you actually acquire a card every round. The percentage of your hold on a location increases with every victory. The funny thing is that all the stages will start off really easy, but as you defeat more and more enemies in that zone, your percentage of control will increase, and proportionally the difficulty of the teams you fight in those locations will increase as well. Here are a few examples I found when playing around with different deck configurations. It's really interesting because some cards allow you to start off with more gauge, but reduce the number of people you have. You can add various aerial mobility effects. As you can see here, Hulk is triple jumping, which is insane. Air dashing Nemesis, air dashing Doctor Strange, air dashing Hulk with multiple air dashes is pretty ridiculous and can give you the freedom to do a lot of silly mind games. Another thing to note is that these factors stack, so if you have a character who can air dash, they can air dash a second time as well. One of the most fun things I found is the Nightcrawler card, which basically allows you to go invisible every time you dash. It looks like a teleport, but it's clearly not, and it most definitely won't work on a computer, but it will confuse the hell out of your online opponents. I'm particularly excited about increasing mobility. I gave X-23 a aerial speed increase, so her command dashes will actually move faster, and she can cancel out of them into an air dash as well. But yeah, once again, lots of sneaky mix-up potential here, and it excites me a lot to play in this manner. While it's easy to stack your deck in a way that increases your damage output, meter gain, and possibly X-Factor duration, I find that I'm a lot more drawn to the concept of increasing mobility and pretty much giving my characters the ability to play psychological tricks, because doing things like giving Hulk an air dash, a double jump, an invisible dash, and an increased airspeed gives me all kinds of ideas of turning him into this crazy mix-up beast that will confuse the hell out of so many people. Also, another thing to note is that there are a lot of desperation cards as well, so if you're down to a last guy, you can even add super armor to a person, and that will probably stack with characters like Hulk and Nemesis as well. So pretty exciting possibilities there. As I've mentioned previously, if you get a whole line of enemies defeated in your hit list, the game will tell you good job, and will also make a bonus level available to you. As you can see, you can get a high class ability card in defeating this, and your hit list will be reset, so you can start the process all over again. Once you get 100% occupation, you get a high level card, but be careful because if you end up losing in that territory, you end up losing the bonus stage as well, and you're going to have to work all the way from the bottom to get that back again. One thing I did find out by accident in this update is the new option, which is Ultimate Controller. If you've been following the news on this game a bit, you'll have known that there's been mention of using a Vita controller in the PS3 version of the game. I'm assuming this is what it means, though I don't have an actual Vita to confirm, but that was interesting to note. In any case, my overall views on this mode is it's pretty damn exciting. It's a free DLC, so there's no reason not to pick it up. I mean, I'm gonna have to say, anybody who's been frustrated about the second release within the same year, this feature definitely makes it worth the second purchase. The only things I look forward to them modifying at a later point is the inclusion of a local versus mode, because this looks damn fun to play against friends with. And additionally, the inclusion of a training mode, since changing character properties, cancels, parries, all of that will require so much research, and it's gonna be really hard to develop that in the field. Anyways, this has been my first look at Heroes and Heralds mode. Check it out on Monday when the DLC finally drops, and thank you for watching. Follow me on my personal channel if you want to see more interesting stuff like my Marvelous Guild series or any other commentaries, and yeah, rate, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching, and have a good weekend, folks.
You win!
Not so pretty no more, are ya?